Welcome back to the Better Console Gamer, and today, my friends, we are going to be talking all about the new Nintendo OLED Switch console, and more specifically, discussing whether it's the right fit for you depending on whether you're an existing Switch owner or entirely new to the Nintendo way of life. But before we get into all of that, just a quick reminder to like, subscribe, and throw a comment in below if you enjoy the video, as doing these three things will earn you my undying gratitude, help grow the channel, and enter you into this month's giveaway, which could see you walk away with a brand new copy of Metroid Dread for the Nintendo Switch. And there's a little bit more info on that giveaway in the video description below. Now let's briefly go over the biggest upgrades that the OLED Switch has over the base Switch model, starting with that beautiful 7-inch corner-to-corner light-emitting diode screen, which is significantly better than the 6.2-inch LCD panel from the older Switches. This panel has the same 1280 by 720p resolution as the earlier models. However, the OLED display is capable of creating more vibrant colors and has the ability to shut off each pixel individually as needed, which means that it can create perfect blacks on demand, which in turn allows for excellent contrast. Beyond that, the entire outer casing of the console has been redesigned, and the terrible kickstand from the base Switch has been enlarged and made more flexible and therefore actually useful. Finally, the OLED's built-in speakers have been heavily reworked, with both the hardware and the layout of the system parts themselves being switched out for the new build, with the designers most notably opting to move from an open speaker design to a closed one, and this theoretically results in the sounds being generated by the OLED Switch being louder and clearer. Now, I've had my Switch around 2 weeks now, and in order to test the upgrades made to the portable aspects of the unit, I decided to take the OLED Switch on a week-long vacation to the middle of nowhere, where people have yet to discover the all-corrupting influence of the internet, and the use of smartphones to check the weather will likely have you branded as a scheming wizard. And it was from this setting that I got to know my little buddy and discover everything that it had to offer, and I was not disappointed. The screen was indeed phenomenally vivid and presented to me the blackest blacks that these humble sexy eyes have ever seen. And I can't overstate how important that is. The screen is your primary interface with the Nintendo Switch. It's how you experience the content. And it being much more vivid and expressive means that literally everything that you play on it gets a significant passive boost. On full brightness, some particularly vivid games can even look a little bit oversaturated. However, that isn't a problem at all and can generally be fixed by manually knocking the screen brightness down a couple of notches, or in more dramatic cases by jumping over to the system setting menu and changing screen vividness from vivid to standard. I checked out a range of games on the new panel over the course of the week, and each one felt noticeably improved by the addition of the OLED technology. And the redesigned metal kickstand made it so much easier to enjoy that screen with others. It brought a flexibility to the local multiplayer aspect of the console that should have been there with the base Switch, making games like Mario Kart and Overcooked way more enjoyable to play. It also made games like Sniper Elite, which are more suited to the relative accuracy of the Pro Controller rather than the Joy-Cons, even more viable. And moving on to the speakers, it's obvious putting them side by side that the new design has made the audio clearer and louder, which makes tabletop party play far more enjoyable and single-player games more immersive. Of course, there are still going to be times when I reach for my faithful headphones, but I feel that the new speaker design is going to make that a less frequent occurrence. I also massively appreciate that the OLED Switch comes with 64GB of internal storage as standard, as opposed to the original Switch's measly 32GB. When supplemented by a 64 or 128GB microSD card, there's plenty of room to fit even more audio-visual goodness onto the system, which is particularly useful when you're heading out and know that you're going to be isolated from a reliable source of rich nougaty internet for a good long while. The OLED Switch is, in short, everything that it was advertised to be, and the build quality of the unit itself is much higher than that of the standard Switch. The volume and power buttons have been made sleeker, and the damage-prone air vents from the original Switch have been redesigned for the newer model. Nintendo also did away with the annoying white text on the back of the earlier Switches, which gives the OLED a cleaner overall appearance. The only disappointing note that I have from my experiences with the OLED Switch comes of course from the Joy-Cons, one of which developed an annoying clicking fault in one of the sticks soon after I got it, which proves once and for all that I am cursed. But regardless, the OLED is by far Nintendo's most impressive Switch console to date, which brings us to the overarching question, is it right for you, and more importantly, is it worth the money? And to answer that, I'm going to split y'all down into two distinct categories, those that already have a Switch and those who don't. Because for anyone who doesn't already own a Switch and is looking to get one, the OLED is an absolute no-brainer. At $349.99 US, it's only $50 more expensive than the standard model, and is unquestionably the better device. However, if you already own a Switch, then the question becomes a little bit more complicated and essentially hinges on your preferred method of play. because if you play the Switch predominantly in docked mode, there's honestly little to no reason to pay out for the OLED. The internals governing the power of the console are essentially the same as with the standard Switch, which means that despite the higher price tag, it won't look any better on the big screen. That said, there is a minor improvement to this mode of play, as the new dock that comes with the OLED now has a dedicated LAN port, which will help with stability when playing an online game or one of the new cloud-based titles that Nintendo seems to be pushing at the moment. However, if you prefer to play your Switch handheld like me, then I can tell you that the improvements made to the screen, the storage space, the stand, and the speakers make it a significant improvement over the base Switch. Is it a life-changing improvement? No, but it is still unquestionably the best handheld Switch experience to date. Therefore, the question as to whether you should buy it then comes down to whether you have the necessary Benjamins and the raw, unbridled willpower necessary to purchase the hot new thing. And if the answer is yes, daddy, then you can always eBay your old Switch for a healthy amount to make the OLED's $350 price tag significantly more palpable. And on that note, I'm going to leave it there for today. Let me know what you think about the OLED Switch in the comments section below, and whether you're thinking about picking it up after this video or leaving it for the time being. As always, if you enjoyed the show, please also remember to like and subscribe, and to keep it here for the biggest updates and news from around the video gaming world.